All right, let's open up a cold case. And I mean a really cold case. One that's over 12,000 years old. It's a story about our planet, a sudden cataclysm, and a scientific mystery that still has researchers scratching their heads. See, 12,800 years ago, the Earth didn't just change, it snapped. The world was warming up, coming out of the last ice age, and then it just screeched to a halt, plunging right back into a deep freeze. So the question is, what on Earth, or off it, could have that kind of power? To really get what's going on, first we need to investigate the crime scene. And we're talking about a sudden, violent climate shift on a planetary scale. This was no small thing. Just look at this timeline. It really shows you the sheer shock of it all. The planet was on this nice, steady warming path. Glaciers were melting, life was adapting, and then boom, a sudden, dramatic plunge right back into near glacial conditions. This wasn't a gradual cooling, folks. This was climatic whiplash. And this wasn't just a bad winter. We're talking about 1,200 years. 12 centuries locked in a deep freeze that totally redrew the map of the Northern Hemisphere. Just think about that for a second. That is a huge amount of time for such an extreme climate to just take over the planet. So, what could have possibly caused it? This brings us to our prime suspect, an explanation that is every bit as dramatic as the event itself, an intruder from deep space. So, back in 2007, a group of scientists proposed this pretty radical idea. They called it the Cosmic Impact Hypothesis. And it suggests this wasn't your typical asteroid strike. No, this was something different. A massive comet that broke apart and exploded in our atmosphere, unleashing absolute chaos from above. So how would this have all gone down? Well, it's a terrifying chain reaction. First, you get comet fragments hitting the atmosphere. They create these massive explosions, airbursts, that send down unbelievably powerful shock waves. That, in turn, ignites continent-spanning firestorms, kicking up so much smoke and soot that it completely breaks Earth's climate system. It's just a horrifying sequence of events. Now, a wild theory is one thing, but you need evidence, right? So let's get to the forensics. Let's see what scientists actually found buried in the dirt right at that 12,800-year mark. And you know what? The evidence is pretty compelling. Right at that boundary layer, researchers found this whole cocktail of weird materials. Things like nanodiamonds, which need extreme pressure to form, magnetic spherules, these tiny little metal balls that are forged in intense heat, and maybe most tellingly, these huge spikes in platinum, an element that's super rare on Earth but really common in meteorites. For the people who support this theory, this isn't just one smoking gun, it's a whole collection of them. But I know what you're thinking. Where's the crater? If something hit us, there should be a giant hole in the ground, right? Well, the hypothesis has an answer for that. If the comet exploded over the massive ice sheets covering North America at the time, the airbursts could have started those wildfires without leaving a single neat crater behind. And the evidence for that? Widespread layers of charcoal that scientists find in the soil, pointing to exactly those kinds of massive firestorms. The fallout from an event like this would have been, well, catastrophic. It's at precisely this moment in time that the great Ice Age megafauna, the mammoths, the saber-toothed cats, they just vanish forever. And it wasn't just animals. Some of the earliest known human cultures in North America, like the Clovis people, they disappear from the archaeological record too. This was a massive bottleneck for life on Earth. But like any good detective story, there's always a counter-theory. Not all scientists are sold on the suspect from space. Some believe the culprit was Earth itself. This quote really just captures the whole essence of the other argument. The idea is that Earth's own systems are more than powerful enough to trigger such a massive shift. No outside help needed. Okay, so let's put these two theories head to head. On one side, you have the impacts theory, blaming an exploding comet. But on the other, you've got the natural shift theory. This one points to a massive flood of fresh water coming from the melting glaciers. And the idea is this huge flood could have shut down the critical Atlantic Ocean currents, which act like Earth's heat conveyor belt. You turn that off, and you plunge the entire Northern Hemisphere into a deep, deep freeze. So we've got two pretty compelling suspects. But why does solving a 12,800-year-old mystery matter so much to us here today? Well, because the answer holds a pretty stark warning. It almost doesn't matter which theory is correct. Whether it was a comet from the heavens or a process from deep within our own planet, the lesson is crystal clear. The Younger Dryas proves, without a doubt, that Earth's climate isn't always this slow, gradual machine. It can be fragile. It has tipping points. And once you cross one of those tipping points, the change can be terrifyingly fast. In fact, some of the data suggests the big freeze of the Younger Dryas didn't happen over centuries. It might have happened in a matter of decades, maybe even just a few years. That's fast enough for the entire world to transform within a single human lifetime. So, did a cosmic impact completely alter the course of life on Earth? The jury is still out, the scientific debate is still hot, but the Younger Dryas event, that is an undisputed fact. And it serves as this powerful, chilling reminder that the stable world we all rely on, well, it's not guaranteed. It proves that we are not nearly as far from chaos as we might like to think.